In this video, we're going to look at the composition of functions. I call it a fifth operation. In the video before, we looked at add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Divide came with a domain addition to it, and that's when we tried to find out what makes the denominator 0 and just avoid those values. For composition, we're going to have two functions given, but we're actually going to substitute one of those functions into the other. Learning the order is important. So let's start with our opening notation. We have function f is x plus 2, function g is x minus 7. When you see f circle g, that's f composed of g of x. It's easier to work these if you collapse your notation down and work them inside out. So this notation on your left, f circle g of x, can also be looked at through the lens of f of g of x. The function on the inside, x minus 7, gets substituted into the function on the outside, function f. So x minus 7 is going to replace that variable. X minus 7 plus 2 is x minus 5. You sub g into f when you see this notation. It's actually backwards from the order it's written in, so be careful. On this next composition, g composed of f of x, g composed of f of x, we're going to take function f, which is x plus 2, sub it into g, that's x plus 2 minus 7. That also gives us x minus 5. And sometimes you get a crazy composition where you have the same function composed of itself. Don't worry about that. Just collapse it down, work it inside out. G composed of g of x is x minus 7. Replace that. G of x minus 7 would be x minus 7 minus 7. That's x minus 14. For these two functions, we have, whoops, let me expand that a little bit, y'all. There we go. We have function f defined as 2 times x. Function g is x to the 4th. F composed of g of x means we take function g, x to the 4th, sub it into the variable of f. That's 2 times x to the 4th. The composition done in the other way, g composed of f of x, means that we take f of x, which is 2x, and sub it into g. Well, g takes its input and raises it to the 4th power. 2x raised to the 4th power is 16x to the 4th. WebAssign will take either one of these. I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up. And then our third composition, again, it's g composed of itself. G of x is x to the 4th. When we recycle that into itself, it's going to be x to the 4th, which will be x to the 16th. These two functions, we have function f defined as the cube root of x minus 2. Function g is defined as x cubed plus 2. The first composition, f composed of g of x, we take g of x, which is x cubed plus 2, substitute it into f. And so if you look at function f, it's going to go right here where that little x is. All of this right in that little location. So that's cube root of x cubed plus 2 minus 2. The 2's go to 0. Cube root of x cubed is x. When the composition is done in the other direction, g composed of f of x, we take f of x, which is cube root of x minus 2, substitute it into g. G's job is to take whatever you put in the input, cube it, and then add 2. Since we're subbing in cube root of x minus 2, we're going to cube it and add 2. Cube root and cube cancel, leaving x minus 2 plus 2 leaves us with x. G composed of itself, g of x is x cubed plus 2. We're going to take the entire function g and plug it into that little bitty x of itself. We're recycling it. So that's x cubed plus 2 cubed plus 2. If you want to write this out 3 times and multiply it out, go ahead. I would actually just stop here. Once you've made the correct substitution, WebAssign will take that. For these two functions, we have f defined as x squared plus 2, g defined as square root of x minus 2. Our first composition, f composed of g, so we're going to take the entire function g, substitute it into the variable of f. That's going to give us square root of x minus 2 squared plus 2. Square root and square cancel each other, leaving x minus 2. Plus 2 leaves x. G composed of f of x, we take function f, which is x squared plus 2, and we put it right here in the variable of g. That's going to be square root of x squared plus 2 minus 2. The 2's cancel, square root of x squared. Now there is a little technicality in math. If you ever go from an even exponent to an odd, because when we simplify this, we go from an x squared to an x to the first, you're technically supposed to put them in absolute value. I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up that if you work this problem in your homework and x, for some reason, WebAssign won't take it, put some absolute value bars around it, and then it definitely has to. Our last composition, g composed of itself. G of x is square root of x minus 2. If we put that entire function back in place of its variable, that is square root of g minus 2. So square root of x minus 2 minus 2 all under another square root. You'd kind of want to stop here. That's a nested square root function, and that would be a nightmare to try to simplify anymore.